Now, we could do even better and actually strengthen benefits, and I'm an original co-sponsor of Senators Sanders and Warren's Social Security Expansion Act, which would expand benefits by $2,400 each year while fully funding the program indefinitely.
Big changes for Social Security. We're going to be talking about $2,400 increases across the board, and take a look what the Congressional Budget Office, or the CBO, had to say. These notes were released to the public on August 4th, and I shared this with you live. If you missed that video, you might want to check it out. Literally the hour that they came out, I shared these reports with you, and take a look. These are notes from a hearing that took place on July 12th of 2023 with the Senate Committee on the Budget and the Congressional Budget Office. And take a look at this. Senator Whitehouse's questions about the economic effects of new tax on higher income people and increases in Social Security benefits for retirees. And yes, they were talking about the Social Security Expansion Act, which would increase benefits across the board to all recipients by $2,400 a year, aka $200 per month. So if you're somebody on SSI, SSDI, retirement, veterans benefits, any of these fixed income benefits from the Social Security Administration, you're probably going to want to see this video. This just took place, like I said, in the last month. I'm going to cover for you some video footage so you can see what White House actually had to say, and also the notes that were released, the official notes, so you can see what they decided. Now, in addition to that, if you haven't heard, there's a piece of legislation out they have reintroduced proposing getting rid of taxation. Now, stick around to the end if you missed that, because that is a big one that's getting pushed right now as well. But I'm going to get you caught up on the latest, and before we dive in, do me a quick favor, smash the like button if you appreciate the updates, hit subscribe to stay up to date, totally free. Why not? I'll let you know everything happening with Social Security, our economy, Congress. But with that being said, let's go ahead and dive right in, and let's start off with this video footage so you can see it for yourself.
Today, I welcome a conversation with Republican colleagues about how to protect Social Security, which, according to CBO, along with Medicare, will make up more than half of spending growth over the next decade. With Social Security and Medicare accounting for so much future spending growth, you cannot have a serious conversation about our nation's fiscal situation if you only focus on non-defense discretionary spending, which represents less than 15% of total federal spending. Without new revenue, Social Security will only cover 80% of its projected benefits by 2035. That's only 12 years away. This hearing will therefore examine how to close that revenue gap to preserve the promise of Social Security for our kids and grandkids, working adults, and current retirees who will still be alive in 2035. Our promise to them is one we must not break. Social Security is the bedrock of retirement security and the nation's most effective anti-poverty program. It's a lifeline for millions of seniors, their children, and people with disabilities. In February of this year, that lifeline reached 20% of the entire U.S. population. Almost every senior in this country will receive payments from Social Security, benefits they have earned that let them retire in dignity. One of my constituents, Robert of Pawtucket, said, "I rely on my Social Security as my only source of income. I'd find it impossible to continue to live independently if Social Security were changed, reduced, or eliminated. Social Security benefits were a contract between the federal government and its citizens." Antonella of North Providence said, "I would be very sad and depressed if there were any cuts to Social Security. I'd just get by as it is." And Laurel, also of Pawtucket, said that without Social Security, she would have to go back to work and probably have to work until I die. For years, Republicans proposed slashing Social Security benefits, letting Wall Street gamble with seniors' retirement, or even sunsetting Social Security altogether. Then, at the State of the Union, President Biden received a bipartisan standing ovation from Republicans and Democrats alike when he proclaimed that cutting Social Security and Medicare was off the table. As he said that night, we got unanimity. So, this hearing proceeds under the premise that Republicans want to extend Social Security solvency and will stand by their commitment not to cut benefits. That, of course, leaves only one option: raising revenue. Fortunately, there are win-win common-sense solutions that would both extend Social Security solvency indefinitely without benefit cuts, while also making our rigged tax system fairer. Right now, the cap on Social Security contributions means a tech exec making $1 million effectively stops paying into the program at the end of February, while a school teacher making far less contributes their share through every single paycheck all year. That's not fair, and my Medicare and Social Security Fair Share Act would fix that by requiring contributions to Social Security on wages above $400,000. People living off income from their wealth make no Social Security contributions. That's not fair either, and my bill would also fix that. Those making more than $400,000 in investment income would contribute just like those who are earning wages. And right now, some wealthy owners of pass-through businesses like hedge funds and private equity firms avoid paying Medicare taxes entirely on much of their income. My bill would close this loophole. These reforms raise enough revenue to make Social Security solvent indefinitely, according to a new estimate from the Social Security actuary, Mr. Steve Goss, who is our lead witness here today. Further, that legislation would extend Medicare solvency by 20 years. We can protect Social Security for all without cutting benefits, and we get to end unfair tax dodges that let those at the top play by a different set of rules than everyone else. Now, we could do even better and actually strengthen benefits, and I'm an original co-sponsor of Senators Sanders and Warren's Social Security Expansion Act, which would expand benefits by $2,400 each year while fully funding the program indefinitely. I welcome the bipartisan commitment not to cut Social Security, but it's not rock solid. MAGA Speaker McCarthy wanted Social Security cuts during the debt ceiling negotiations and has pledged to explore them. The House Republican Study Committee released a plan to cut Social Security by $718 billion over 10 years. The plan would also raise the retirement age to 69, which would effectively cut benefits by 13% every year and especially harm low-income workers. Raise revenue or cut benefits. These are the only two options. If Republicans stand by their commitment not to cut benefits, they must safeguard Social Security solvency by raising revenue. There is no other way to honor our promise to older Americans to retire with dignity.
So that was Senator Whitehouse. You heard him say that he supports Social Security Expansion Act, Bernie Sanders' bill, which would have those increases, and he said would extend that solvency indefinitely. Now, I'd be very interested to see the numbers on that because we've ran them here on the channel, and what we've seen is that with the increases, they kind of offset the extension of the solvency. So we kind of got two different issues here that they're trying to address. But let's take a look at the notes as to what they actually recorded from that hearing so that way we can see it. Now, here's the first question that talks directly about increases, and it says, question, if Congress were to enact a Social Security tax on the incomes of very wealthy people from whom each additional dollar of income is more likely to be saved than spent to fund Social Security benefits for all retirees who are more likely to spend than save, what would the effect of the economy be on accounting from the distribution of the revenue to Social Security beneficiaries? Please discuss the situation under current law where benefits would be limited to payable benefits after insolvency rather than following CBO's baseline convention that assumes scheduled benefits would be paid despite the lack of legal authority. Now, the answer to this is that in a recent report, the CBO estimated the economic and budgetary effects of limiting Social Security benefits to what is payable from dedicated funding sources following the projected exhaustion of the combined Old Age Survivors and Disability Insurance, or the OASDI, the trust fund, would come to an end in 2033. So right now, if we do not change anything, that's when we can expect these funds to run dry. Although there are two funds that are legally separate, so they're two different ones, in some of its analysis, the CBO considers them as a combined trust fund. Under that payable benefits scenario, the required reduction in total annual Social Security benefits after the trust fund balances reach zero amounts to 25%. So we've mentioned a 25% cut across the board around the year 2034 and increases to 28% in the year 2053. So as things progress, if they do not address this, there's going to be bigger cuts that will come relative to the amount in the CBO's long-term budget projections known as the extended benefits. For its analysis, CBO assumed that all existing and new OASDI beneficiaries would experience the same percentage reduction in benefits as the overall percentage reductions. Now, a policy that would instead increase Social Security benefits above that amount that would be payable from the trust funds under the current law. So an increase like the Social Security Expansion Act would have the opposite effect. In the short term, the increase in Social Security payments would cause consumer spending to increase. So more money, more spending. Savings would decrease as some people would save less for retirement, and overall demand for goods and services to increase, so speeding up the flow of money. As a result, output would be greater in 2034 and 2035. So more money is going to be flowing out. It's going to be depleting the funds faster than it would be if payments were limited to payable benefits. In the long term, output would be less, mainly as a result of three factors: a decrease in the supply of labor, a decrease in private investment following a decline in private savings, and a decrease in the amount of funds available for private investments following an increase in borrowing by the federal government. So in other words, exactly what we were saying, if more money is going out, they're going to have to somehow find a way to get more money to supply all of these benefits and increased benefit payments. Now, if the Congress considered enacting new tax on increasing existing taxes, the Joint Committee on Taxation would provide the estimates for the effects of that proposed change to the tax code. So if we increase the taxes on wealthy individuals to try to get more funds in, we'll have to see exactly how much is going to be needed to extend the solvency and to offset the outflow as we increase payments. Although the CBO would not be the source of such an estimate, the agency can offer the following general assessment of the effects of the policy that would extend the Social Security tax to higher incomes, for example, by taxing annual earnings in the excess of the maximum taxable amount under the current law, $160,200 as of 2023. Now, the boost to revenues from such a policy would increase dedicated funding for Social Security and increase benefit payments relative to a scenario in which benefits are reduced after the combined trust fund balances reach zero. Such a policy would affect the economy in the short term by altering overall demand, and in the longer term by affecting people's incentive to work and save. So in other words, they're saying that, hey, if we pay out too much benefits, it's going to disincentivize people to work and to save, and it's going to be hurting the economy. In CBO's assessment, overall demand would probably increase following an increase in benefit payments and an increase in taxes on earnings from high-income individuals. Specifically, the increase in benefit payments would increase spending by retirees relative to the payable benefits scenario. When combined with higher taxes on earnings among high-income individuals, the increase in benefit payments would reduce hours worked by non-retirees and cause some people to retire earlier than they would have under payable benefit scenarios. The reduction in hours worked and higher taxes would reduce non-retirees' after-tax income and spending. In the CBO's assessment, the increase in spending by retirees would probably be larger than the decrease in spending by non-retirees, thereby increasing overall demand. However, ultimately, the net effect of the policy change on the economy in the short term would depend on how the policy was implemented and the state of the economy when the policy change occurred. Now, in the long term, the increase in benefits, if they increase benefits and the higher taxes would reduce the supply of labor and reduce savings and investments. Over time, those reductions would slow economic growth and reduce the overall size of the economy, which would have negative effects on most households, including many that will not have earnings above the maximum taxable amount under the current law. So let me know your thoughts, but it sounds like overall they're saying that increasing the benefits might hurt the economy, that initially we might see a boost, but long term it will disincentivize people to stay working, to stay saving, and that it might not be a good thing. Now let me know your thoughts, because we also have people that have paid into this their entire lives, feel like they have earned it. It is not an entitlement program, and now that they're pulling from it, we're telling them that they're going to be getting cuts, and it's not enough to keep up with inflation, and they're being double taxed, and now they're saying, well, it's going to hurt the economy. Well, let me know your thoughts, because there are some that are saying that, but there's some that are saying we simply just need to take care of those that are receiving these benefits, and we need to increase the payments. And one way by which we can do that is to get rid of the double taxation, as I mentioned, which has been a big topic that has come up. Now, to get the latest on that, be sure to check out this video right here, as I covered it just recently, as we are seeing this being reintroduced and pushed in Congress to get rid of the double taxation. So check that one out next if you missed it. But with that being said, you guys, that is the latest directly from the CBO's office. Office on Social Security. I'll be sure to keep you up to date on everything as it unfolds. Thank you so much for joining me. I'll catch you in the next one. Take care. God bless. This is Steve.